The slap echoed through the small sitting room like thunder before rain. Amara didn't scream. She had learned long ago that screaming only made Chike angrier. She tasted blood on her lip as her head snapped to the side, her body crumpling against the faded sofa they had bought together 7 years ago when love still lived in this house. "You think you can question me?" Chike's voice was low and deadly. "You think you have the right to speak when I'm talking?" Amara's hands trembled as she touched her swelling cheek. Through blurred vision, she saw the woman standing behind her husband, Ngozi, the mistress, wearing Amara's good wrapper, the expensive one Amara had been saving for her cousin's wedding. Ngozi's lips curved into a smile that made Amara's stomach turn. "She's pathetic," Ngozi said, examining her manicured nails. "Look at her. Can't even take a simple correction without crying like a child." Chike turned back to Amara, and she saw something in his eyes that terrified her more than his fists: complete indifference. This was the man who once held her hand through midnight prayers when his mother was sick. The man who had promised her the world when they married in that small church in Enugu, with only 20 guests and a rented suite. "Get up," he commanded. Amara tried. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. Pain shot through her ribs where he had kicked her moments before, when she had dared to ask why there was no money for her mother's medication but enough for Ngozi's new phone. "I said get up." This time his hand grabbed her arm, yanking her to her feet. Something inside her ribs cracked. She bit down on her scream, swallowing it like poison. "Chike, please," she whispered. "I only asked because Mama needs." His fist cut off her words. The punch landed in her stomach, doubling her over. She fell to her knees, gasping, the world spinning around her in circles of pain and shame. Outside, she could hear Mrs. Okonkwo's television suddenly get louder. The woman had heard everything. They all heard everything in this compound of 4 flats sharing one corridor. But nobody would come. Nobody ever came. In Lagos, people learned to mind their business, especially when it came to what a man did in his own home. Ngozi laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that Amara would remember for the rest of her life. "Look at her, baby," Ngozi purred, running her hand down Chike's arm. "Crawling on the floor like a dog. This is what you married? This thing?" Chike stared down at Amara with disgust. "I don't know what I was thinking. 7 years I've wasted on you. 7 years of nothing. You can't even give me a child." The words hurt worse than the blows. They had tried for children. She had gone to 3 different hospitals, taken tests, swallowed bitter herbs from Chike's aunt. Every doctor said the same thing: there was nothing wrong with her. But Chike refused to get tested. In his mind, the problem had to be hers. "Maybe if you weren't so useless," Ngozi added, moving closer to stand beside Chike like they were posing for a photograph, "he would have something to show for all these years." "But what did you give him?" "Nothing. Just your ugly face and your poverty mentality." Amara's chest heaved. Blood dripped from her nose onto the floor, the same floor she had scrubbed this morning before going to work. She cleaned houses for 3 families in Victoria Island, leaving the flat at 5 a.m. every day and returning at 7 p.m. Every kobo she earned went into this house, into feeding Chike, into maintaining the small business he had started with her savings. "Get out," Chike said suddenly. Amara looked up at him, not understanding. "I said get out of my house. Pack nothing. Take nothing. Just leave." "Chike, it's past 10 p.m. Where will I?" "Now." He grabbed her by her hair, dragging her across the floor toward the door. Amara's hands scraped against the rough concrete, her knees burning. She heard Ngozi's laughter following them like a curse. The front door swung open. Night air rushed in, carrying the smell of rain and fried plantain from someone's late dinner. Chike shoved her out into the corridor with such force that she fell, her head hitting the wall opposite their door. "Don't come back," he said coldly. "You are no longer my wife. Ngozi is my wife now. She's everything you could never be." The door slammed shut. Amara lay there in the dim corridor, lit only by one naked bulb hanging from a wire. Her whole body throbbed with pain. She could feel her face swelling, her ribs screaming with every breath. Somewhere in the compound, a baby cried. A generator coughed to life. Normal sounds of normal life, continuing as if her world hadn't just ended. Slowly, she pushed herself up to sitting, leaning against the wall. Through the door, she could hear them, Chike and Ngozi. Laughing. Music starting to play. The bed creaking. Mrs. Okonkwo's door cracked open 2 flats down. The old woman peeked out, her face full of pity but her mouth staying closed. Their eyes met for a moment before Mrs. Okonkwo quietly shut her door again. Amara sat there as midnight came and went. She had nowhere to go. Her mother was in the village, too sick and too far. Her friends had slowly disappeared over the years as Chike isolated her, claiming they were bad influences. Her phone was inside the flat, on the table where she'd left it. Everything she owned was behind that locked door, her clothes, her certificates, her dignity. Rain began to fall. Soft at first, then harder, drumming on the zinc roof above. Water started to leak through, dropping cold onto her head, mixing with her blood and tears. But something was happening inside her. Something was shifting. She thought about the envelope in her bag at her cleaning job. The registered letter that had arrived 3 weeks ago from lawyers in Abuja. The one she had been too afraid to open, too afraid to hope, because hope had only ever disappointed her. Her father, the man who had abandoned her mother when Amara was 5 years old, was dead. And he had left her something. The lawyer's letter had said she needed to come to Abuja to claim her inheritance. She had pushed it aside, thinking it was probably nothing, maybe some debt she would have to pay, some final burden from a man who had never been a father. But now, sitting in this corridor, broken and bleeding and homeless, something clicked into place in her mind. She looked up at the door that had been slammed in her face. Rain ran down her battered face like tears from heaven itself. And she smiled. It was a small smile. Painful through split lips. But it was there. "You will regret this," she whispered to the closed door, to the sounds of celebration inside, to the man who had thrown her away like garbage, to the woman who had stolen her place. "Both of you. I promise you. You will regret this." She stood up slowly, every muscle protesting. She walked to the compound gate, each step an act of will. Behind her, laughter still spilled from her former home. Ahead of her, the rain-soaked streets of Lagos stretched into darkness. But Amara wasn't afraid anymore. She had nothing left to lose. And that made her more dangerous than Chike or Ngozi could ever imagine. Welcome to Tino's Stories, where we bring you the most compelling, emotional, and unforgettable African stories. If you're enjoying this journey of betrayal and redemption, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. Trust me, you won't want to miss Chapter 2, where we discover how this strong woman became the poor wife everyone looked down on. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, have you ever witnessed someone underestimate a quiet person? Let's discuss in the comments. Now, let's continue. 15 years earlier, Amara Okafor was the girl everyone said would go far. She was the student who studied by candlelight in her mother's one-room apartment in a forgotten corner of Enugu. The girl who won scholarships by sheer brilliance, who tutored classmates for free because she believed knowledge should be shared, who carried her mother's provisions tray to the market every Saturday to help make ends meet. Her father's abandonment had taught her one lesson early: never depend on anyone. So she didn't. She worked. She studied. She dreamed. By the time she was 22, she had a diploma in business administration and a job as a secretary in a small construction company. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. She sent half her salary to her mother every month and saved the rest with the discipline of a soldier. That's when she met Chike Okonkwo. He was 25, tall and handsome in that careless way that made women look twice. He worked as a driver for the same construction company, delivering materials and picking up clients. But he had dreams, big dreams. He talked about starting his own transport business, about buying his first bus, then a second, then a whole fleet. "I just need a chance," he told her one afternoon as they shared roasted corn from a street vendor during lunch break. "Just one person to believe in me. That's all." Amara saw something in his eyes that day. Hunger. Not the lazy kind that wanted handouts, but the desperate kind that came from being poor and smart and stuck. She recognized it because she saw it in her own mirror every morning. They began talking more. He would wait for her after work, walking her to the bus stop even though his house was in the opposite direction. He bought her small gifts, nothing expensive, just thoughtful. A handkerchief when she had a cold. Oranges when she mentioned craving them. He remembered things she said. 6 months later, when he asked her to marry him with a ring he had clearly saved months to buy, she said yes. Her mother cried. "Amara, are you sure? You barely know this man." "Mama, I know enough. He's hardworking. He has dreams. We'll build together. Building together is good. But make sure you're not the only one laying bricks while he just watches." Amara had laughed off the warning. She was young. She was in love. She was certain. The wedding was simple, so simple it was almost sad. 20 guests. Church fee. Borrowed decorations. Amara wore a dress her mother had sewn from fabric they bought at ABA Market. Chaik wore a suit borrowed from his older brother. They had no reception, just rice and stew served in takeaway packs outside the church. But Amara didn't care. They were starting their life together. That was all that mattered. The problems began almost immediately. Chaik lost his job 3 months after the wedding. The construction company was downsizing, and drivers were the first to go. Amara came home one evening to find him sitting in their single room, staring at the wall. "It's okay," she said, holding him. "We'll manage. I'm still working." "A man should provide," he said bitterly. "How can I call myself a man when my wife is feeding me? We're a team, Chaik. Teams support each other." But she could see the shame eating at him. And in Lagos, shame makes men do desperate things. He started applying everywhere, security guard positions, cleaning jobs, anything. But there were always 100 applicants for every position. Without connections or bribes, doors stayed closed. Months passed. Amara's salary alone wasn't enough for rent, food, and utilities. She started taking cleaning jobs on weekends. Then she found evening work washing dishes at a restaurant in Suralere. She would leave for work at 6 a.m. and return at 10 p.m., exhausted and barely able to stand. Chaik stopped looking for work. He said he was networking, but mostly he sat with other unemployed men in the compound, playing drafts and talking about politics and football. "Chaik, there's a position at the gas station," Amara would suggest gently. "They need attendants." "Attendants? You want me to be pumping fuel?" "It's honest work. It pays. It's beneath me." That phrase, beneath me, became his favorite. Everything was beneath him. Yet he had no problem eating the food Amara bought with money earned from work that was apparently not beneath her. 2 years into the marriage, Amara's mother fell ill. Diabetes and high blood pressure, the doctor said. She needed medication, monthly checkups, and better food. Amara looked at their savings account. Everything she had put aside was gone, used for rent, for feeding Chaik, for the new clothes he insisted on buying even though he went nowhere. She took on a third job. Cleaning houses for 3 families in Victoria Island, rich families who didn't look at her when they gave instructions, who treated her like furniture that could move and clean. She would wake at 4 a.m. to start the journey from their Suralere apartment to the island. The traffic was horrible, the buses were packed, but she didn't complain. This was what love required, she told herself. This was partnership. Then Chaik's big opportunity appeared. A friend of a friend wanted to sell a bus. Not a fancy one, but functional. Chaik came home that evening more alive than Amara had seen him in months. This is it, Amara. This is what I've been waiting for. If I can buy that bus, I can start my transport business. I can be my own boss. How much is the bus? 250,000 naira. Amara's heart sank. They didn't have that kind of money. Chike, we have nothing saved. Mama's medication alone. So I should just give up my dreams? Is that what you want? You want me to be a failure forever? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just what? Don't you believe in me? Don't you believe in us? She saw the desperation in his eyes. The hope. This was the man she had married, the dreamer, the hard worker who just needed a chance. Against her mother's protests, against her own better judgment, Amara did something she would regret for years. She sold everything of value she owned. The small gold chain her grandmother had given her. Her phone. Her good clothes. She borrowed from her cousin, promising to pay back with interest. She worked extra shifts until her hands bled from cleaning chemicals. In 3 months, she had the money. When she gave it to Chike, he lifted her up and spun her around their small room, laughing like a boy. You see? This is why I married you. You believe in me. We're going to be rich, Amara. Just wait. In 2 years, we'll have 10 buses. The bus business started well. Chike hired a driver and the bus ran the Oshodi to Mile 2 route. Money started coming in, not much, but something. For the first time in their marriage, they could breathe. Amara thought their struggles were over. She was wrong. The money changed Chike. Or maybe it just revealed who he had always been underneath. He started coming home late, smelling of beer and perfume. When Amara asked where he'd been, he'd snap at her, I'm working. Building our future. Or should I report my every move to you like a child? He bought himself new clothes, expensive ones. New shoes. A gold chain. When Amara asked about paying back her cousin or getting her mother's medication, he would shout, Can I not enjoy the fruit of my labor? After all I've suffered? His friends started visiting the house, laughing loud, drinking, talking about women. Amara would serve them food she could barely afford to cook, and they wouldn't even say thank you. They would just look through her like she was invisible. That's when Ngozi appeared. She was a conductor on one of the buses that shared the same route. Pretty, loud, confident in a way that made men notice and women scorn. She wore tight clothes and laughed at everything. At first, Amara only heard about her through gossip. Your husband's conductor is very close to him, oh, Mrs. Okonkwo mentioned one day while they were washing clothes together at the compound tap. They're always talking, laughing. You know how these bus conductors can be. Amara dismissed it. Chike wouldn't be so foolish. They had built this life together. He knew what she had sacrificed. But then he started mentioning Ngozi's name at home. Ngozi says we should paint the bus a different color. Ngozi thinks we should run a night shift. Ngozi has such good business sense. Ngozi this. Ngozi that. The first time Amara met her, she knew. Women always know. Ngozi came to their flat one evening with Chike, supposedly to collect her payment for the week. She looked Amara up and down with barely concealed contempt, taking in the worn wrapper, the tired face, the hands rough from cleaning. So this is the famous wife, Ngozi said, smiling like a knife. Chike talks about you sometimes. Good things, I hope, Amara replied, trying to match the smile. He says you work very hard. The way she said it made work sound like something shameful. Something a proper woman wouldn't need to do. That night, after Ngozi left, Amara tried to talk to Chike about her discomfort. She doesn't respect boundaries, Chike. The way she talks to you, the way she looks at you. Are you jealous? He seemed amused. Jealous of my conductor? Amara, focus on your work and stop creating problems where there are none. But the problems multiplied like bacteria in dirty water. Chike stopped touching her. Stopped talking to her except to complain about food, about cleaning, about everything. He would come home at midnight, sometimes later, sometimes not at all. When she asked, he would yell, "I'm building our empire. Unlike you, I'm not content with poverty." The neighbors started pitying her. She could see it in their eyes at the compound tap, hear it in how they suddenly stopped talking when she approached. Then one evening, she came home early from work to find Ngozi in her house. Sitting on her sofa. Eating from her plates. Wearing her wrapper. And Chaik was laughing with her. Actually laughing, something he hadn't done with Amara in months. "What is going on?" Amara asked, her voice shaking. Ngozi looked up slowly, chewing deliberately. "Oh, you're back. Chaik said you wouldn't be home until late. This is my house. What are you doing here?" "Chaik invited me. We were discussing business." The way she said business made it clear what kind of business they were discussing. Amara turned to her husband. "Chaik." He wouldn't meet her eyes. "Ngozi is helping me plan the expansion. We're buying another bus." "Another bus? With what money? We haven't even." "See?" Ngozi interrupted, standing up. "This is what I told you, baby. She doesn't support your vision. She's always negative, always discouraging." "Baby." She called him baby. And Chaik didn't correct her. That was the moment Amara realized she had lost her husband. Maybe she had never really had him. Maybe he had married her because she was convenient, hardworking, loyal, stupid enough to sacrifice everything. But she wasn't Ngozi. She wasn't exciting. She wasn't new. She was just the poor wife. The one who cleaned houses. The one with rough hands and tired eyes. The one who had given everything and received nothing. Over the next 6 months, she watched her marriage dissolve like sugar in rain. Ngozi stopped pretending. She would come to the house openly, sit close to Chaik, laugh at Amara's discomfort. She convinced Chaik that Amara was the problem, too traditional, too old-fashioned, too poor in spirit to understand what success required. Chaik's family visited one weekend. His mother took one look at Ngozi and said to Amara, "You need to pray harder. You need to be a better wife. Look at you, tired, broke, old. How can a man not look elsewhere?" The church was worse. When Amara finally got the courage to tell the pastor, he said, "Have you been submitting to your husband? Have you been taking care of his needs? A man only strays when his home is lacking something." So it was her fault. Everything was her fault. She started sleeping on the floor because Chaik said the bed was too small. She cooked elaborate meals she couldn't afford because Ngozi would criticize her cooking. She worked longer hours to try to bring in more money, thinking maybe if she could just do enough, be enough, give enough, he would remember why he married her. But the more she gave, the less he valued her. And Ngozi was winning. Bit by bit, she was taking over Amara's life, her house, her husband. Until that night. That terrible night when Chaik finally raised his hand. And everything changed. If you're still watching, comment below. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Let's see how many of us understand that the most dangerous people are the ones who stay silent during the storm. Share this story with someone who needs to see it, and don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 3 is coming, and you'll see how the mistress completely takes over, but the wife is quietly planning something that will shock everyone. Stay tuned. The morning after Chaik threw Amara out, she found herself sitting on the cold steps of her employer's house in Victoria Island at 5 a.m., waiting for the gate man to arrive and let her in to start her cleaning work. Her face was swollen. Her ribs screamed with every breath. She had slept under the shelter of a roadside kiosk, waking up every hour to the sound of passing cars and the fear of area boys who roamed the streets at night. But she was alive. And she had made a decision. Mrs. Adeyemi, the woman whose house she cleaned 3 times a week, took one look at Amara's face and gasped. "Jesus Christ! What happened to you?" "I fell, Ma," Amara lied automatically. The shame of the truth was still too heavy to carry into words. Fell? Amara, your face looks like someone beat you. Should I call the police? No, Ma, please. I'm fine. I just need to work. Mrs. Adeyemi studied her for a long moment. She was a lawyer, this woman, sharp-eyed and not easily fooled. But she also understood that sometimes women needed space to survive before they could find the strength to fight. Fine. But you're going to the hospital first. I'm taking you myself. And don't argue with me. 3 hours later, after x-rays and medication and bandages, Amara sat in Mrs. Adeyemi's kitchen with a cup of tea she couldn't taste. The doctor had said 2 ribs were cracked, her nose wasn't broken but was badly bruised, and she needed rest. Rest. As if she could afford that luxury. Where did you sleep last night? Mrs. Adeyemi asked, sitting across from her. I found a place. You slept on the street. Amara didn't deny it. And your husband? Where is he? He's not my husband anymore. Mrs. Adeyemi's jaw tightened. I see. And that envelope that came for you last month? The one from the lawyers in Abuja? Did you ever open it? Amara looked up in surprise. She had forgotten. She had asked Mrs. Adeyemi if she could receive mail at her employer's address because the postal service in her area was unreliable. Not yet, Ma. Why not? I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid it would be more problems. Afraid it would be debt. Afraid it would be nothing. Mrs. Adeyemi stood up and went to her study. She returned with a large brown envelope, still sealed, bearing the letterhead of a law firm, Okeke and Associates, legal practitioners, Abuja. Open it, she commanded. Ma, I don't think. Amara, you just spent the night on the street after your husband beat you and threw you out like trash. What exactly do you have to lose by opening an envelope? The logic was undeniable. With trembling hands, Amara tore open the envelope. Inside were several documents, legal papers with stamps and signatures, a letter on official letterhead, and a bank statement that made her hands freeze midway through unfolding it. She read the letter once. Then twice. Then a third time because her brain couldn't process the words. Dear Miss Amara Okafor. We are writing to inform you of the passing of your father, Chief Emmanuel Okafor, on the 14th of March 2023. According to his last will and testament, duly signed and witnessed, you are named as the sole beneficiary of his estate. The letter went on. And on. Words about properties, investments, accounts, assets. At the bottom was a summary figure that made the room spin around Amara. 70 million naira. Her father, the man who had abandoned her and her mother when she was 5 years old, the man she had hated for most of her life, had left her 70 million naira. Ma. Amara's voice came out as a whisper. I don't understand. Mrs. Adeyemi had been reading over her shoulder. Her face broke into a slow, satisfied smile. Oh, I understand perfectly. Your father was Chief Emmanuel Okafor? The oil magnate? I didn't know. He left us when I was small. I never saw him again. Well. Mrs. Adeyemi sat back down, her smile growing wider. It seems he never forgot about you. This explains everything. The properties listed here include several commercial buildings in Abuja and Lagos, shares in multiple companies, and that amount in the bank is just the liquid cash. The total estate value is probably more than 70 million. Amara stared at the papers in her hands. Her mind was racing, trying to catch up with reality. She was rich. While she had been scrubbing toilets and sleeping on streets, she had been rich. While Chike had been beating her and calling her useless, she had been rich. While Ngozi had been mocking her poverty, she had been rich. Why didn't they find me sooner, she asked. According to this, they've been trying to reach you for 6 months. They sent letters to your last known address, your mother's address in Enugu. But she's been ill, hasn't she? She probably didn't think to forward them, Or maybe she never received them. Amara's hands were shaking so badly that the papers rustled like leaves in wind. What do I do now? Mrs. Adeyemi's smile turned fierce. Now? Now you get everything that belongs to you. And then. She paused, her lawyer's mind clearly working through scenarios. Then you make sure that the people who treated you like dirt spend the rest of their lives regretting it. That afternoon, instead of cleaning, Amara made a phone call to Abuja. 3 days later, she was on a bus heading north, with money Mrs. Adeyemi had loaned her for the trip. The lawyer had insisted on being repaid. This isn't charity, she had said. This is an investment in justice. Meanwhile, back in Lagos, Ngozi was making herself comfortable. She had moved into Chike's flat the morning after he threw Amara out. Not officially, she kept her own place for appearances, but effectively, she was now the woman of the house. Finally, she said that first morning, surveying the small apartment with the satisfaction of a conquering general. Finally, I don't have to look at that poverty mentality woman's face every day. Chike was lying in bed, watching her move around the room in the nightgown she had brought from her own house. Part of him felt a whisper of guilt about how he had treated Amara. But Ngozi's presence pushed it away. She was exciting. She made him feel like a man. She didn't remind him of his failures like Amara's tired face always did. We need to celebrate properly, Ngozi said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Take me to that new restaurant in Lekki. The one with the Instagram-worthy food. That place is expensive. So? She trailed a finger down his chest. You're a successful businessman now. Or do you still want to live like you're poor? Is that what you want? No, but nothing. I left my other boyfriend for you. You know Ibrahim, the one with the car importation business? He wanted me back, said he would buy me my own shop. But I chose you, Chike. Because I believe in you. Don't make me regret it. The manipulation was masterful. Chike found himself agreeing, promising to take her out that very evening. What he didn't tell her was that the bus business wasn't doing as well as he claimed. One of his buses had broken down last week, and the repair costs were eating into his profits. He had actually been planning to ask Amara if she could lend him money from her cleaning jobs. But Amara was gone now. And he had Ngozi, who expected 5-star treatment. He would figure it out. He always did. Over the next 2 weeks, Ngozi systematically erased every trace of Amara from the flat. She threw out Amara's clothes. These rags? We can't have these here. They're bringing down the energy of the house. She rearranged the furniture. This setup is so local. Let me make it modern. She convinced Chike to remove Amara's name from the tenancy agreement. Why should a woman who's not even here anymore have her name on anything? It's your house. Put my name instead. The neighbors watched in horrified fascination. Mrs. Okonkwo tried to warn Chike one afternoon when she saw him at the compound tap. Oga Chike, that girl, she's not a good woman. The way she talks about your wife. Ex-wife, Chike corrected sharply. And Ngozi is my concern, not yours. I'm just saying, as someone who has seen many marriages come and go in this compound. Did I ask for your opinion? Mrs. Okonkwo closed her mouth and walked away, shaking her head. She had tried. That was all anyone could do. Inside the flat, Ngozi was cooking, or rather, attempting to cook. She had burned the rice, oversalted the stew, and somehow managed to make the chicken simultaneously raw inside and burned outside. But when Chike came in, she presented it with such confidence that he felt he couldn't complain. This is different, he said diplomatically, chewing the rubbery chicken. It's a new recipe I learned online. You like it? He forced a smile. It's good. But his mind wandered to Amara's cooking. She could make magic with 3 ingredients and a camping stove. She could stretch 50 naira worth of ingredients into a meal that made you feel like a king. He pushed the thought away. That was the past. This was his future, this beautiful, confident woman who chose him, who believed in him, who made him feel alive. Even if she couldn't cook. Even if she spent money like water. Even if she had started making comments about the flat being too small, the furniture being too cheap, his clothes being just okay but not really impressive. That night, as Ngozi slept beside him in the bed that still smelled faintly of Amara's cheap perfume, Chaik's phone rang. It was his bus driver. "Olga, we have problem. Police stop us for checkpoint. They say our papers no complete. They want 20,000. 20,000? For what? They say nah because we no get proper documents for night operation. But we're not running night operations." "I know, Olga. But them don't care. If we no pay, them go impound the bus." Chaik looked at Ngozi sleeping peacefully, her new phone, that he had bought her, charging on the bedside table, her new necklace, that he had bought her, glinting in the moonlight from the window. He had exactly 12,000 naira in his account. "Tell them to wait," he said finally. "I'll find the money." He hung up and stared at the ceiling. Finding the money meant asking his friend for a loan. Again. Or worse, asking Ngozi to pawn some of the jewelry he had just bought her. Neither option appealed to him. For the first time since throwing Amara out, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. But pride is a stubborn thing. It makes men double down on their errors rather than admit fault. So Chaik told himself that this was just a temporary setback. Things would get better. They had to. Meanwhile, in Abuja, Amara was sitting in a lawyer's office that was bigger than the entire flat she had shared with Chaik. The lawyer, Mr. Okeke, was a distinguished older man with gray in his hair and wisdom in his eyes. He had known her father well. "Chief Okafor spoke about you often," he told Amara. "He was filled with regret about leaving you and your mother. He tried to find you several times over the years, but your mother had moved, changed her name after the divorce, and, well, pride prevented him from searching too hard, I suppose." "Why did he leave us?" Amara asked. It was a question that had haunted her entire childhood. "Your father was a complicated man. Ambitious, brilliant, but weak when it came to family pressure. His family wanted him to marry someone from their social class, someone who could advance their political connections. Your mother was a village girl, educated but not wealthy. They made his life hell until he broke. So he chose money over us." "Yes. And he spent the rest of his life regretting it. That's why he left everything to you, his only biological child. He had other children with his later wives, but this was his way of trying to make amends." Amara felt tears threatening but pushed them back. She had cried enough in her life. "What do I need to do to claim the inheritance?" "Just sign here, here, and here." Mr. Okeke pushed documents across his massive desk. "I'll also need identification, which we can sort out. The properties will be transferred to your name within 2 weeks. The bank accounts can be accessed immediately." Amara signed with a hand that had scrubbed toilets that very week. "There's one more thing," Mr. Okeke said. "Your father owned the building where your husband's apartment is located. It's a 4-flat compound in Surulere." Amara's hand froze. "What?" "Yes. It's part of the property portfolio. The current landlord who's been collecting rent is actually just a property manager. The building belongs to you now. Along with 7 other buildings in Lagos." The irony was so perfect it almost made Amara laugh. Chaik had thrown her out of her own building. "Don't tell the property manager yet," she said suddenly. "Let him keep collecting rent as normal. I need time." Mr. Okeke nodded, understanding immediately. "You're planning something." "I'm planning everything." She left the office that afternoon with documents that made her, on paper, one of the wealthiest women in Lagos. But she didn't feel rich. She felt like a soldier preparing for war. Back in Lagos, Ngozi was throwing a party. She had invited all her friends to her new place, showing off the flat like she had built it herself. Music blasted from cheap speakers. Women shrieked with laughter. Men drank beer and tried to flirt with whoever would pay attention. "This is where you live now," one of her friends asked, looking around the small space with barely concealed disappointment. For now, Ngozi said quickly. Chike is about to expand his business. We're looking at a 3-bedroom flat in Ikeja next month. It was a lie. Chike had mentioned no such thing. But Ngozi had learned that in Lagos, perception was everything. If people thought you were successful, you were successful. The reality didn't matter until the bills came due. And the bills were coming. Fast. If this story is giving you chills, like this video. Can you imagine discovering you're wealthy while people are treating you like garbage? Drop a comment and tell me, what would you do in Amara's position? Get revenge immediately or wait and plan? Let's debate in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Chapter 4 is explosive. We're about to see the full reveal of Amara's wealth, and trust me, nobody is ready for what she's planning. Don't miss it. Hit that notification bell now. 2 months after being thrown out of her own house, Amara returned to Lagos transformed. Not in the obvious way, she wasn't wearing designer clothes or driving a flashy car. That would come later. For now, she was strategic. She still lived in a modest hotel in Yaba, still dressed simply, still moved through the city like a ghost. But everything had changed beneath the surface. Her father's entire estate was now legally hers. Mr. Okeke's law firm had handled everything with the efficiency of people who dealt in millions daily. Bank accounts had been transferred. Property deeds had been signed. Investment portfolios had been reviewed. Amara now owned 8 residential buildings across Lagos and Abuja. 45% shares in a logistics company. 23% shares in an oil servicing company. A commercial plaza in Wuse, Abuja. The land the plaza sat on, which was worth more than the building. And 70 million naira in liquid assets, not counting the monthly dividends from the investments. She was, by any measure, extraordinarily wealthy. But wealth meant nothing if wielded without wisdom. That's what Mrs. Adeyemi kept telling her during their evening strategy sessions. The lawyer had become both advisor and friend. She had even waived her consultation fees, saying, watching this unfold will be payment enough. Revenge isn't just about destroying people, Mrs. Adeyemi explained one evening over Chinese takeout in her office. It's about making them destroy themselves. You give them enough rope, and they'll tie their own nooses. I don't understand. Chike threw you out because he thought you were worthless. Ngozi moved in because she thought she had won a prize. What happens when they realize the truth? They'll panic. They'll do more than panic. They'll turn on each other. The relationship that felt so perfect when they were stealing your life will become toxic when they realize they threw away a fortune for nothing. Mrs. Adeyemi leaned forward, her eyes sharp. But you can't just tell them. They won't believe it. You have to show them. Slowly. Deliberately. Make them watch as everything they thought they knew turns to dust. Amara felt something cold and hard forming in her chest. Not anger anymore, something colder. Determination. How long will it take? To completely destroy them? If we do it right? Mrs. Adeyemi smiled. 3 months. Maybe less. It depends on how greedy and stupid they are. They're both. Perfect. The first move came a week later. Amara had Mr. Okeke send a formal notice to the property manager of the Surulere building, Mr. Balogun, a portly man in his 50s who had been collecting rent for years, believing he was working for an absentee landlord. The letter was simple: the building's ownership had transferred. A new landlord was now in charge. All rent payments should now be directed to a new account. Mr. Balogun received the notice on a Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, he had visited the building to inform the tenants. Chike was home when Mr. Balogun knocked. Ngozi was there too. She practically lived there now, having moved all her belongings in despite Chike's weak protests about taking things slow. Good afternoon, Mr. Balogun, Chike greeted, confused. Rent wasn't due for 2 more weeks. Good afternoon, Oga. I'm here to inform all the tenants about a change in ownership of this building. Change in ownership? What do you mean? The building has been sold. Well, not sold exactly, it was inherited. The original owner passed away and left everything to his daughter. She's now your new landlord. Ah. Chaik relaxed. Okay. Same rent amount? For now, yes. But the new owner is renovating all her properties. She might increase rent after the renovations are complete. Her properties? Ngozi interjected from inside the flat. She owns more buildings? Yes now. This woman inherited plenty property. She's very wealthy, I hear. Anyway, that's all. Just wanted to inform you. Mr. Balagan left. Chaik closed the door and shrugged. At least rent is not increasing immediately. But Ngozi was frowning. Something about the story bothered her, though she couldn't articulate what. The second move came 2 weeks later. Chaik's friend Tony called him, excited. Guy, I found investor for your transport business. Investor? Yes. This rich woman wants to invest in transport companies. She's looking for solid businesses to expand. I told her about you, and she's interested. Chaik's heart leaped. An investor. This was exactly what he needed. The buses were struggling, one was in the mechanic's shop, another had been impounded by police, and the third was barely making profit after fuel and maintenance costs. Who is this woman? I don't know her well, but she's serious money. She's been buying up properties all over Lagos. Very low-key though, doesn't show off. When can I meet her? She wants to see your business documents first. Your company registration, your fleet records, maintenance logs, financial statements. You have all that? Chaik's stomach dropped. I have most of it. Most is not enough, Guy. These serious investors, they check everything. Organize your papers sharp and send them to me. I'll forward them to her people. After Tony hung up, Chaik sat staring at his phone. The truth was, his record-keeping was terrible. Half his transactions were done in cash with no documentation. His company wasn't even properly registered, he'd been operating with a business name certificate that had expired 6 months ago. What's wrong? Ngozi asked, sensing his mood shift. Nothing. Just business waala. Is it about money? Because my rent is due next week, and I was hoping. Ngozi, not now. She fell silent, offended. But she didn't leave. She never left anymore. She had quit her conductor job. I'm a businesswoman now, not a common conductor, she had announced, and was fully dependent on Chaik. Which meant Chaik was now supporting 2 households on an income that barely covered one. That night, while Ngozi slept, Chaik went through his documents. The situation was worse than he thought. He owed 3 months back payments to his drivers. One of the buses wasn't actually his, he'd bought it with a loan he hadn't finished paying. His profit margins were non-existent after all expenses. On paper, he looked like a failed businessman playing dress-up. But he needed this investor. Desperately. So he did what desperate men do, he lied. He spent the next week creating fake documents. Inflated revenue numbers. Invented maintenance schedules. He even paid a guy in Computer Village to forge company registration papers. He sent everything to Tony, who forwarded it to the investor. 2 days later, Tony called back. She wants to meet you. Friday, 2 p.m., at that Chinese restaurant in Victoria Island. Come alone, she doesn't like crowds. She's coming herself? Not sending her lawyers? She's coming herself. She likes to meet business owners face to face, size them up. Wear something sharp. This could change your life, Guy. Chaik spent Thursday evening shopping for a new outfit with money he didn't have, using a credit card he couldn't pay off. Ngozi insisted on coming along, choosing his clothes, making sure he looked like a man of substance. When you get this investment, she said, examining his reflection, we're moving to Lekki. I'm tired of this small flat. I'm tired of these broke neighbors. I'm tired of pretending we're not better than this. When I get it, Chaik agreed, though his stomach was twisted with anxiety. He had no idea who this mysterious investor was. No idea what she looked like or what she wanted. All he knew was that she had money, serious money, and she was interested in his business. What he didn't know was that she had been interested in his business for months. Long before Tony's phone call. Long before the coincidental investment opportunity. Because the investor wasn't a stranger. The investor was Amara. And Friday's meeting wasn't about business. It was about justice. Friday arrived with the kind of bright Lego sunshine that made everything look deceptively optimistic. Chaik woke up at 6 a.m., too nervous to sleep. He showered twice, shaved carefully, dressed in his new outfit, a navy blue kaftan with subtle embroidery that Ngozi said made him look like a chairman. You look perfect, Ngozi said, straightening his collar. She had stayed over specifically to help him prepare. Remember what I told you. Be confident. Don't accept the first offer. Make her see that your business is valuable. I remember. And when you get the money, don't forget who has been here supporting you when that useless woman ran away. The casual cruelty in how she referred to Amara still startled Chaik sometimes. But he didn't correct her. That would mean defending Amara, and defending Amara would mean acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, he had made a mistake. So he kissed Ngozi goodbye and headed out into the humid Lagos morning. The Chinese restaurant in Victoria Island was one of those places Chaik had only heard about, the kind where the menu had no prices listed because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. He felt out of place the moment he walked in, despite his new clothes. The hostess smiled professionally. Good afternoon, sir. Do you have a reservation? I'm meeting someone. Mrs. He realized he didn't know the investor's full name. Tony had only referred to her as the investor. Are you Mr. Chaik Okonkwo? Yes. Please follow me. Your party is waiting. His heart was hammering as he followed her through the restaurant, past tables of people who looked like they owned half of Lagos. The hostess led him to a private booth in the back, partially screened by decorative panels. Mr. Okonkwo is here, the hostess announced. A woman's voice, refined and calm, thank you. Please bring water and the lunch menu. The hostess left. Chaik walked around the screen. And his world stopped. Sitting in the booth, wearing a simple but obviously expensive dress, her hair done up in an elegant style, her face glowing with health and confidence, was Amara. His Amara. Except she wasn't his anymore. And she looked nothing like the woman he had thrown out 2 months ago. Hello, Chaik, she said, her voice steady. Please, sit down. He couldn't move. Couldn't speak. His brain was short-circuiting, trying to reconcile the beaten woman he had last seen bleeding in the corridor with this composed, powerful presence in front of him. What? Sit down, she repeated, and this time it wasn't a request. Chaik sat. His legs were shaking. I suppose you're wondering why you're here, Amara continued, pouring herself water from the jug on the table with steady hands. I invited you under false pretenses. There is no investor. Well, there is, but it's me. And I'm not investing in your failing transport business. Amara, I can explain. Explain what? How you beat me. How you threw me out. How you replaced me with your cheap mistress in less than 24 hours. Her voice never rose, but each word landed like a slap. Save your explanations. I didn't bring you here for that. Then why? I brought you here so you could see what you threw away. She reached into her handbag, a designer bag that probably cost more than all of Chaik's buses combined, and pulled out a folder. These are property deeds. 8 buildings across Lagos and Abuja. This one. She slid out a document and placed it in front of him. This is the building you're currently living in. My building. I'm your landlord, Chike. His eyes widened. What? But, how? My father died. You remember, the father I told you abandoned me when I was 5? Turns out he became very successful. Oil business, properties, investments. And he left everything to me. Everything. I'm worth more than 70 million naira in liquid assets alone. The properties and investments are worth substantially more. Chike's face had gone completely white. So you see, Amara continued, her voice like silk over steel, while you were beating me and calling me useless, I was actually wealthy. While Ngozi was mocking my poverty, I owned buildings. While you threw me out of your house, I literally owned the ground beneath your feet. Amara, please. I'm not finished. She pulled out another document. These are your fake business registration papers. You really thought I wouldn't verify? I had my lawyers investigate your business thoroughly. You're 3 months behind on driver payments. One of your buses is bought on credit you can't pay. Your company isn't properly registered. You have no insurance. You're one accident away from bankruptcy. Tears were rolling down Chike's face now. Please, Amara. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake. Please forgive me. Take me back. I'll do anything. Take you back? For the first time, emotion crept into her voice. Not anger, something colder. Take back a man who beat me? Who threw me out into the street at night? Who replaced me with his mistress without a second thought? What exactly would I be taking back, Chike? A man with no business, no integrity, no character? I can change. You can't even pay your rent. The sentence hung in the air like an executioner's blade. I'm increasing the rent on all my properties, Amara said. Effective next month. You're currently paying 70,000 a year. The new rate will be 150,000. Of course, if you can't pay, you'll have to move out. Amara, you can't do this. I'm your landlord. I can do whatever I want. She stood up, and Chike noticed for the first time how she carried herself now, spine straight, head high, like royalty. This wasn't the beaten woman he had destroyed. This was someone completely new. Or maybe this was who she had always been underneath the poverty and abuse. Enjoy your lunch, she said. I've already paid. Consider it my final gift to you, a meal you could never afford. And Chike? She paused, looking down at him with something that might have been pity or might have been contempt. Tell Ngozi the woman she called worthless owns this restaurant too. I bought it last week. She walked away, her heels clicking on the tile floor with the rhythm of a victory march. Chike sat in that booth for an hour after she left, staring at nothing, his world crumbling around him like sandcastles at high tide. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. Everything he had won was actually lost. And the woman he had thrown away like garbage was about to make him pay for every bruise, every insult, every moment of cruelty. The war had begun. And he was already losing. Are you still breathing? Because this reveal has me shook. Smash that like button if you're feeling this twist. Drop a comment, never throw away a queen, let's flood the comments with support for Amara. And if you're not subscribed yet, you're truly missing out because chapters 5, 6, and 7 are going to be explosive. Chike's world is about to completely collapse, and Ngozi's downfall is going to be brutal. Hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. You do not want to miss what happens next. Chike stumbled out of the Chinese restaurant like a drunk man, though he hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. The Lagos sun felt too bright, the traffic too loud, everything too real. His phone was buzzing. Ngozi calling. He ignored it. She called again. And again. Finally, he answered. Baby. How did it go? Did you get the investment? How much is she giving us? Chike's laugh came out broken, almost hysterical. Us? There is no us, Ngozi. There is no investment. There is nothing. What are you talking about? Don't play with me, Chike. I'm serious. How much did you get? The investor was Amara. Silence. Then, what? The mysterious rich investor who wanted to meet me? It was my wife. Ex-wife. Whatever. It was Amara. That's impossible. Amara is broke. She cleans houses for. Amara inherited 70 million naira from her father. She owns 8 buildings, including the one we live in. She's our landlord, Ngozi. She owns half of Lagos. More silence. Then Ngozi started laughing, a harsh, disbelieving sound. You're joking. This is a joke, right? You're upset about the meeting, so you're. I saw the documents. Chike shouted into the phone, not caring that people on the street were staring. I saw everything. Property deeds, bank statements, company shares. She's rich, Ngozi. She was always rich. And we. The reality hit him so hard he had to sit down on the curb. We threw her out, he finished quietly. We beat her and mocked her and threw her out. And she owns everything. No, Ngozi whispered. No. This can't be happening. She's raising our rent. From 70,000 to 150,000 a year. Starting next month. She can't do that. She's the landlord. She can do whatever she wants. Ngozi's breathing became rapid and panicked on the other end of the line. Okay, we can fix this. You go back there right now and apologize. Beg her. Tell her you made a mistake. Do whatever it takes to get her back. She doesn't want me back. You should have seen her face, Ngozi. She looked at me like I was dirt under her shoe. Then what are we going to do? We? Chike's voice turned hard. What do you mean, we? This is your fault. You're the one who told me Amara was holding me back. You're the one who said I deserved better. You're the one who convinced me to throw her out. Don't you dare blame this on me. You're the one who couldn't keep your marriage together. You're the one who chose to. Chike hung up. He couldn't listen anymore. His head was pounding, his stomach churning. He felt like he was falling through space with nothing to grab onto. His phone rang again. This time it was Tony. Guy, what happened? The investor just called me, said the meeting didn't go well. She's withdrawing all interest in your business. What did you do? Long story. Well, she also mentioned something about fake documents. Chike, did you forge your registration papers? I had to. My business is. You committed fraud, man. Do you understand how serious that is? She has those fake documents now. She could report you. She won't. How do you know? Because she's my wife, Chike wanted to say. Because for all the hurt I caused her, she loved me once. Because she wouldn't want to see me in jail. Would she? I just know, he said instead. Well, you better pray you're right. And Guy? Don't ever ask me to introduce you to investors again. You embarrassed me. Tony hung up. Chike sat on that curb for another hour, watching Lagos move around him, the hawkers selling pure water and plantain chips, the Danfo buses belching black smoke, the businessmen in their igbadas talking loudly into phones, the street children weaving through traffic begging for change. He used to feel like he was above all this chaos. Like he was building something that would lift him out of it permanently. Now he realized he was just another Lagos man with dreams bigger than his reality. Over the next week, Amara's plan unfolded with surgical precision. First came the audit. A team of accountants showed up at Chike's bus park, which was really just an empty lot in Oshodi where he parked his 3 buses overnight. We're from the State Transport Authority, the lead auditor announced, showing identification. We received a complaint about unlicensed commercial transport operations. We need to inspect your vehicles and documentation. Complaint? From who? Anonymous. Now, can we see your vehicle registration papers, insurance certificates, and operational permits? Chike didn't have proper paperwork for any of it. One bus was registered but insurance had lapsed. The second bus was on credit and the papers were still in the seller's name. The third bus, the one that was currently broken down, had never been properly registered at all. By afternoon, all 3 buses were impounded. You can't do this. Chike shouted as they towed his buses away. This is my livelihood. How will I feed my family? Then you should have obtained proper documentation, sir. You can appeal to the Ministry of Transport. The appeal process takes 6 to 8 months. 6 to 8 months. By then, the buses would be sold at government auction to pay for storage fees. Chike called the only person he could think of. Ngozi, they took all my buses. What? Transport Authority. They impounded everything. How did they even find you? Someone must have reported you. Who would? Her voice trailed off. The investor. It was her, wasn't it? Amara did this. Chike had thought the same thing, but hearing it said out loud made it real. I don't know. It was her. This is revenge. She's destroying you deliberately. What do I do? I don't know. I don't know, okay? I'm not a business person. You're supposed to be the man, the one with the plan. Ngozi was crying now. My rent is due. My landlord is threatening to throw me out. You said you would take care of it. I can't take care of anything right now. So what am I supposed to do? Figure it out. I have to go. He hung up before she could respond. The second strike came 3 days later. Chike received a letter from his actual landlord, Mr. Balagan, acting on behalf of the new owner. The letter was formal, legal, and devastating. Notice of rent increase. Dear tenant. This is to formally notify you that effective 1st of next month, the annual rent for your flat will increase from 70,000 Nigerian nairas to 150,000 Nigerian nairas. This adjustment reflects current market rates for the area. Please make arrangements to pay the new rate by the due date, or alternatively, provide 30 days notice of your intention to vacate the premises. Regards. Property Management Services. Acting for, Mrs. Ao Okafor Okonkwo. That last line, Mrs. Ao Okafor Okonkwo, felt like a knife twisting in his chest. She had taken his name. She still had his name. And now she was using it to destroy him. 150,000, Chike muttered, staring at the letter. He didn't have 150,000 naira. He didn't have 70,000 naira. He didn't have 10,000 naira. His bank account had 6,000 naira in it. His buses were impounded. His drivers were calling him daily, demanding their back pay. And Ngozi expected him to solve her rent problem too. He felt the walls closing in. That evening, he walked to the local bar, a dingy place with plastic chairs and weak beer, and sat in the corner, nursing a bottle he couldn't afford, trying to figure out how his life had collapsed so completely in less than 2 weeks. Chike. He looked up. Mrs. Okonkwo, his neighbor, was standing there with grocery bags, having clearly just passed by and spotted him through the open bar front. Ma. Can I sit? He shrugged. She sat down across from him, her face full of the stern compassion of an older woman who had seen too many men destroy themselves. I warned you, she said quietly. I told you that girl was trouble. I know. I told you not to throw away a good woman. I know. Now look at you. Sitting here drinking beer you can't afford while your life falls apart. Ma, I don't need. Shut up and listen. Her voice was sharp enough to cut. That wife of yours, Amara, she came back last week. Did you know that? Chike's head snapped up. What? She came to the compound in a nice car with a driver. She met with Mr. Balogun, inspected the building, talked about renovations. She was wearing clothes that cost more than your buses. And you know what she did when she saw me? What? She smiled at me. She thanked me for being kind to her when everyone else ignored her suffering. Then she gave me 50,000 naira. Just like that. Said it was for being a good neighbor. Tears stung Chaik's eyes. That woman you beat and threw out like garbage? Mrs. Okonkwo continued. She's out there buying buildings and helping people, while you're here drinking yourself into poverty. So I came to tell you something important. You didn't just lose a wife, Chaik. You lost yourself. And no amount of crying will bring either of them back. She stood up and walked away, leaving her words hanging in the air like smoke. Chaik sat there until the bar closed, until the owner told him to leave, until he had nowhere to go but back to the flat that was no longer his, to face the woman who had helped him destroy everything worth having. Ngozi was waiting when he got home. She had been crying, her makeup was smeared, her eyes red. We need to talk, she said. Not now, Ngozi. Yes, now. She stood up, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Chaik saw real fear in her eyes. I went to see Ibrahim today. My ex-boyfriend. The one with the car business. Chaik's stomach dropped. Why? Because I needed help. Because my rent is due and you're broke and I'm about to be homeless. I thought maybe he would take me back, help me out. And he laughed in my face. Her voice broke. He said everyone knows what I did, how I destroyed your marriage for money. He said I'm a homewrecker and no decent man will touch me now. His friends were there. They all laughed. She collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing. My reputation is destroyed, Chaik. People are talking about me everywhere. My mother called today, said the neighbors in our street are gossiping, saying her daughter is a prostitute who steals husbands. I can't even go to church anymore. Everyone looks at me with disgust. For a moment, Chaik felt something like pity. But then he remembered, she had been right there, encouraging everything. She had mocked Amara. She had celebrated every moment of Amara's humiliation. Now they were both paying the price. We need to leave Lagos, Ngozi said suddenly, looking up at him with desperate eyes. Both of us. We can go to Port Harcourt or Abuja. Start fresh where nobody knows us. With what money? I have some savings. No. Chaik's voice was flat. I'm not running. Not with you. What does that mean? It means this relationship, whatever this is, it's over. You need to go back to your own place. My own place? I gave up my own place to be with you. Then find another one. I can't help you anymore. You're throwing me out? After everything? After everything? Chaik exploded. After everything you convinced me to throw away my wife. You convinced me she was worthless. You told me I deserved better. And look where it got us. We're both broke, both disgraced, both destroyed. So yes, Ngozi, I'm throwing you out. Just like I threw out Amara. Because apparently, that's all I know how to do. Ngozi stared at him, tears streaming down her face. You're pathetic, she whispered. Amara was right to leave you. Ibrahim was right to laugh at me. We're both pathetic, and we deserve everything happening to us. She grabbed her phone and her bag, the only things of hers left in the flat, and walked out. The door slammed shut. And Chaik found himself alone in a flat that wasn't his, with no money, no business, no reputation, and no future. The empire he thought he was building had been a house of cards. And Amara had barely needed to blow to watch it collapse. The war wasn't over. But he had already lost. I need to catch my breath. This chapter was intense. Like this video if you believe everyone gets what they deserve. And comment, karma is patient but thorough, let's show Amara some love. Chapter 6 is going to focus on Ngozi's complete destruction, and trust me, it's satisfying. And then Chapter 7. Oh, Chapter 7 is the ultimate conclusion you don't want to miss. Subscribe now and tell your friends, this story is going viral. Turn on those notifications. Let's get to the finale. 3 weeks after Chike threw her out, Ngozi found herself sitting in her cousin's one-room apartment in Ajigunal, staring at the peeling walls and wondering how her life had fallen apart so spectacularly. She had nowhere else to go. Her landlord had locked her out of her old flat after 3 months of unpaid rent, the flat she had abandoned to move in with Chike, thinking she was upgrading her life. Her mother refused to let her come home to the village. "You disgraced us," her mother had said over the phone, her voice cold. "You destroyed a marriage for money that wasn't even there. Don't come back here. We have enough shame already." Her friends had abandoned her one by one, not wanting to be associated with that homewrecker girl. The WhatsApp groups had gone silent whenever she posted anything. The invitations to parties and weddings had stopped coming. Even her church, the Redeemed branch in Suralere where she used to dance in the front row every Sunday, had made it clear she wasn't welcome anymore. The pastor had actually pulled her aside after service and said, "Sister Ngozi, perhaps you should worship elsewhere for now. Your presence is causing discomfort among the married women." Translation: Your reputation is so toxic that wives are afraid to let their husbands breathe the same air as you. Now she was here, sleeping on her cousin Blessing's floor, listening to rats scurry in the ceiling at night, bathing with water fetched from a communal well 3 streets away. Blessing, who had never liked Ngozi and made no secret of it, looked at her that morning with barely concealed contempt. "How long are you planning to stay?" Blessing asked, arms folded across her chest. "I don't know. I'm looking for work." "Work? Ngozi, what work? You have no skills except convincing men to leave their wives. That's not exactly a marketable talent. That's not fair." "Fair?" Blessing laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about fair? You destroyed a woman's marriage, moved into her house, wore her clothes, ate from her plates. You celebrated while she suffered. And now you want sympathy? I didn't know she was rich. And that makes it okay? If she had stayed poor, it would have been fine to destroy her life?" Ngozi had no answer to that. "You have 1 week, Blessing said firmly. 1 week to find somewhere else to go. I'm getting married next month, and I can't have you here. My fiancé's family already heard about you. They're questioning his choice to marry into a family with someone like you in it." "Someone like me? A husband snatcher. A homewrecker. Whatever you want to call it. You're poison, Ngozi. And poison spreads." Blessing left for work, locking the door behind her and leaving Ngozi alone with her thoughts and her shame. Ngozi picked up her phone, a cheap replacement for the expensive one Chike had bought her, which she'd had to sell to buy food last week. She scrolled through social media, and immediately wished she hadn't. There was a post going viral, a photo of Amara at some charity event, looking stunning in a burgundy dress, smiling confidently at the camera. The caption read, "Billionaire heiress Mrs. Amara Okafor Okonkwo launches foundation to support abused women. I know what it's like to be beaten and broken," she tells attendees. "But I also know that survival is possible, and so is success. What an inspiration. Hashtag women supporting women, hashtag rise above." The photo had thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments praising Amara's strength, her generosity, her beauty. And in the comments section, Ngozi saw her own name. Someone had recognized her. Or maybe someone from the compound had talked. However it happened, the story was out there. This is the woman whose husband used to beat her and cheat on her with his mistress. The mistress thought she won, but look who's winning now. I heard the mistress is living in Ajigunal now, broke and disgraced. Karma. The comment had 200 likes. There were more. I know the mistress. Her name is Ngozi. She's a conductor who thought she upgraded by stealing someone's husband. Now she's worse than broke, she's blacklisted. My sister works at a restaurant where Ngozi applied for work. They rejected her immediately. Nobody wants to employ a known homewrecker. How will customers feel being served by someone like that? Ngozi is begging on the streets of Ajagunal now. My cousin saw her yesterday. Shame. That last comment wasn't true, not yet, but Ngozi could see the trajectory. She was heading there. Fast. She threw the phone across the room and buried her face in her hands. How had this happened? She had been beautiful, desirable, clever. Men had wanted her. She had options. She chose Chaik because he seemed like he was going somewhere, like his bus business was the foundation of something bigger. She had thought Amara was the obstacle, the boring, poor, tired wife holding him back from greatness. Remove the obstacle, and the path to success would be clear. But Amara wasn't the obstacle. Amara was the success. And Ngozi had destroyed her own life trying to steal it. That afternoon, desperation drove Ngozi to do something she swore she'd never do. She went looking for Amara. She didn't know exactly where to find her. Amara's exact address wasn't public, but she knew Amara owned the Chinese restaurant in Victoria Island. The one where she'd revealed everything to Chaik. So Ngozi put on her best remaining outfit, a dress that had been expensive once but now looked tired from too much wear and too little care, and took 3 buses to get to the island. The restaurant looked even more intimidating in daylight. Glass and chrome and elegance. Ngozi stood outside for 10 minutes, gathering courage, ignoring the security guard's suspicious stare. Finally, she walked in. The hostess looked her up and down with the trained eye of someone whose job was to identify people who didn't belong. "Can I help you?" "I need to see Mrs. Okafor Okonkwo." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but..." "Then I'm afraid that won't be possible. Mrs. Okafor Okonkwo is very busy. Please. Just 5 minutes. Tell her it's Ngozi. She'll know who I am." The hostess's expression shifted, recognition followed by barely concealed disgust. Of course she knew who Ngozi was. Everyone knew by now. "Wait here." The hostess disappeared into the back. Ngozi stood in the entrance, aware of other diners staring, whispering. She heard fragments. "That's the mistress. The one who tried to steal. Can't believe she has the nerve." 10 minutes passed. 15. Finally, the hostess returned. "Mrs. Okafor Okonkwo will see you. But only for 5 minutes. Follow me." Ngozi was led through the restaurant, that walk of shame, past all those judging eyes, and into a private office at the back. Amara was sitting behind a desk, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Ngozi had made in a year as a conductor. She didn't stand when Ngozi entered. Didn't smile. Just looked at her with the calm, appraising gaze of someone examining an insect. "Sit," Amara said. Ngozi sat. "You have 5 minutes. Speak." All the speeches Ngozi had practiced on the journey here evaporated. Under Amara's steady gaze, she felt like a child caught stealing. "I'm sorry," she finally managed. "Sorry for what, exactly?" For everything. For coming between you and Chaik. For mocking you. For being cruel. "You're sorry because you're suffering," Amara corrected. "Not because you actually regret what you did. If Chaik had turned out to be wealthy and I had stayed poor, you wouldn't be here apologizing. You'd be celebrating your victory." Ngozi couldn't deny it. "I need help," she said quietly. "Help with what?" "I have nowhere to live. No job. No money. Everyone has blacklisted me. I can't even get work as a conductor anymore. The other conductors, they all heard what happened. They won't work with me. They say I bring shame to the profession. So you want me to help you? The woman whose life you tried to destroy? I know I don't deserve it. I know I have no right to ask. But I'm desperate. I'm staying with my cousin in Ajagunal, and she's throwing me out next week. I have nowhere to go. Amara leaned back in her chair, studying Ngozi like a scientist studying an interesting specimen. Do you know what you taught me, Ngozi? What? You taught me that cruelty is easy. That it's easy to kick someone when they're down. Easy to laugh at their pain. Easy to take what's theirs when they're too broken to fight back. Amara's voice was soft but sharp as a blade. You taught me that some people only understand consequences. That mercy is often wasted on those who mistake it for weakness. Please. You stood in my house, and called me worthless. You wore my clothes and laughed while Chike beat me. You moved into my bed before it was even cold. And now you want me to save you from the consequences of your own actions? Ngozi's tears were flowing freely now. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I see that now. You see it now because you're the one suffering. Pain has made you temporarily wise. But wisdom without character is just manipulation in a different form. What do you want from me? Do you want me to beg? I'll beg. Do you want me to get on my knees? I'll do it. Ngozi actually started to kneel. Sit down, Amara commanded, disgust flashing across her face. Your theatrics bore me. Ngozi sat back down, trembling. Amara opened a drawer and pulled out an envelope. She placed it on the desk between them. Inside this envelope is 10,000 naira. Enough for you to rent a room somewhere for a month. Enough to buy food and look for work. Take it. Ngozi reached for it with shaking hands. But understand something, Amara continued. This is not mercy. This is not forgiveness. This is me proving that I am not you. That I won't let your cruelty turn me into someone cruel. That I can help even those who hurt me, not because they deserve it, but because I refuse to become what you are. Ngozi clutched the envelope, crying too hard to speak. And one more thing, Amara said, her voice dropping to something cold and final. Stay away from me. Stay away from Chike. Stay away from anyone connected to my old life. If I see you again, if you approach me again, if you even speak my name publicly, I will use every resource I have to make your life more miserable than you can imagine. Do you understand? Yes, Ngozi whispered. Good. Now get out. Ngozi stood on shaking legs and walked to the door. Ngozi. She turned back. Amara was looking at her with something that might have been pity or might have been contempt. Ngozi couldn't tell which. The pain you celebrated became your punishment, Amara said. Remember that. And live with it. Ngozi left that office and walked out into the Lagos afternoon feeling hollowed out, emptied of everything except shame. She took the buses back to Ajagunal, clutching the envelope with its 10,000 naira like a life raft in a storm. She found a room, a horrible, tiny room with no windows, sharing a bathroom with 6 other tenants, in a building that shook whenever heavy trucks passed by. But it was hers for a month. Maybe more if she was very, very careful with money. She looked for work. Every day. Any work. But Lagos is a city of gossip, and her reputation had spread faster than she could run from it. The restaurant rejected her. We don't hire people with your kind of history. The shop turned her away. My husband works here. You think I'm stupid enough to hire someone like you? The cleaning company said, we work in people's homes. We need trustworthy employees. Even the brothel, in her most desperate moment, she had actually gone to a brothel. The madam had looked at her and said, men pay for fantasy, not for known trouble. You're more famous than our girls, and not in a good way. Nobody wants to touch a woman whose own choices destroyed her. They'll be afraid your bad luck will infect them. Rejected by everyone. Even by those society itself rejected. 1 month became 2. Then 3. Ngozi stopped eating 2 meals a day. Then 1 meal a day. Then 1 meal every other day. Her cousin Blessing got married and didn't invite her to the wedding. Her mother called once, drunk, to tell her, you have brought shame on our family name. Your father is turning in his grave. I wish you had never been born. Her phone got stolen in a Danfo bus. Her last good dress got ruined in the rain. She started looking old, not just older, but old in the way that poverty ages people, wearing away at their appearance like water wearing away stone. One evening, 6 months